Hey, this is Tim. Broken Poets, music for the Melancholy. Back to share some personal shit. I guess I already shared some personal shit. But anyway, this is a big one. I've even locked the cats out for this one. Man, 30 years of recovery begs the question: can I ever recover? Will I ever recover? But I guess recovery lasts for the rest of your life in a way. But I don't know. That's one of my main points. I don't really like to look at it like that. But I spent yesterday, all last night, writing down all the mistakes I made. I was going to share all the mistakes I made, and the list was so big, I think it's a little too long for a vlog. So I think I'll just share the highlights, the big mistakes I made to possibly save you guys some time. If you're still partying, having a good time with it, then enjoy. Go enjoy yourself some more. But this is for people that have really had it like I had, and have decided that the only way forward is to quit for good. So it doesn't matter what you're addicted to. I just find it so funny, and I used to do it myself. And having an addictive personality, our egos love to compete with with our addictions. If you think about it, when you're competing before you quit, saying yours isn't the worst, yours is basically not the worst one. You're just drinking wine, not vodka, or you're it's just oxy, not heroin. So, but it's all alcohol, it's all opiates, it's all whatever the drug. They're all the same. So don't fool yourself. And if you notice, the ego's really involved with trying to prove that you're not addicted, trying to prove to yourself that you're not addicted, trying to prove that it's not as bad. And then when you do quit, you're competing with everybody saying you got it the worst. It is obvious that some addictions are more physically painful to get out of, but it's all the same mental agony that you're going through when you quit something. If you're addicted to something heavy or light, if you're trying to quit, it's the same torment. So we're all in the same boat. My first big mistake was not to get into a 12-step or rehab program right away. I spent like the first year just in misery because I was too stubborn to go. Didn't want to go to one of these programs. I quit cold turkey and just figured that was, I can do it myself. But I spent a whole year just like suffering for no reason. And when I finally did go to a 12-step program, it was really helpful. It really helps to let you know you're not alone. First off, you hear all sorts of stories that are way, way worse than yours, which is nice. I mean, nice not to hear the stories, but it kind of makes you realize your own little drama isn't so bad. You think it is. You always think you're the only one that's going through the worst hell, but man, after a few of those stories of people really, really losing everything, and you realize you quit just in time. So, and then my second big mistake was not to leave one of those programs soon enough, because it ends up being like the Groundhog's Day of recovery. The mindset is basically that you're gonna slip up any minute. You gotta go to a meeting, or you're gonna slip up. You gotta go, man, and that becomes an addiction in itself. That you have to go to a meeting, and then everything there is focused on everybody's ready to slip, or the guy quit for 6 months, then he slipped. He's gonna tell his new story, how he fucked up, and it's some people, they go to those programs their whole life, but the idea to me to recovery and quitting any kind of addiction is to move on from the addiction and to live your life, try to live as normally as you can, and to move on. I don't even think about it. I mean, I can imagine if I was still going to meetings, I wouldn't go to bars. I would be so afraid to go anywhere, be around alcohol or drugs, but I'm around it all the time. Lana drinks vodka, family drinks, everybody's, I know people that do drugs, but to stay in one of those programs for good kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion. There's probably a lot of people that have been on this journey as long as I have that would disagree and have gotten a lot out of those programs. And I'm here to say they're great, nothing wrong with them. I just saw that it wasn't getting me where I needed to go. You have to rely on yourself. You just have to end up trusting yourself and going out on your own. And the best way to do that, self-help. Self-help, man. And I was coming out of this in the 90s, so self-help was a big movement then. I don't know if I basically was drawn to it because I needed to find, solutions for the problems I had in my head. But I was trying to figure out what was going on, and here's all this self-help. And then believe it or not, a big mistake I made with self-help was I got addicted to self-help. I can't believe it. I mean, you think, you just can't imagine, and here comes the cats again. I'm just gonna have to let them in a minute, but you think of self-help and you go, how could something that's essentially good for you and helps you grow and I know, Timmy, it helps you grow. How can you basically, lose from that? And how you do is you end up being focused on the lessons that you're learning. You get so obsessed with the new, tricks that you learn, shortcuts. There's little theories and ideas and all sorts of things that you latch onto, and you end up never really doing the emotional heavy lifting that it takes to grow, because you're moving on to the next self-help remedy. And man, I did that for years. Honestly, it's like one hit of Wayne Dyer in the '90s, and I was hooked, man. That was the gateway drug. Next thing I knew, I had a new car, new apartment, and I was snorting Tony Robbins. I was freebasing Deepak Chopra. But there's so many great teachers and self-help gurus out there. The great thing I learned from Tony Robbins, he thinks because he's so popular, he doesn't have anything, like it's all a scam. Some people don't believe in those, self-help programs, but there's always some nugget of wisdom. You realize that your thoughts are formed in questions in your mind. So your life is only as good as the questions you're asking yourself, was the line I heard him say. And that really hit home, man. I got high off that for months. And then to the point where I was so addicted to self-help, Lana was joking that there was that show, that reality show, Intervention, and she was laughing that I would go on that show. The whole family would meet. They'd all meet in the motel on the side of the highway. And Tim, will you not get help today? Will you not self-help yourself today? Yes, I will not. I actually did have to give it up for a while and just trust myself and try to invest in some of the things I had learned and move ahead in that way. But self-help's awesome. I made a list of some great books that I had read through the years that changed my life. Most of them I read 2 or 3 times because I had to learn over and over. But man, it really does. It helps to get a new mindset, change a lot of limiting beliefs. And the one problem, you end up learning so much about psychology and personal growth, you start to see it in other people, and you're not growing yourself. So you start to focus on other people and you get really judgmental. I drove Lana nuts. And you get into all these self-help psychedelics. Ram Dass is Richard Alpert. Pema Chodra's great. I put a list down there too of some spiritual teachers. You end up finding a lot of those. Alan Watts. A lot of those are just awesome trips to go on, So I also wanted to mention therapy and life coaches. Couldn't have lived without them. I had a therapist for years, Judy Gurin, who was just so helpful. The problem is with therapists and doctors, they love to over medicate. Man, back in the 90s, they had me on a cocktail you wouldn't believe for anxiety and depression. That was just beyond. I'd fall asleep on the way to work. Hey, stop it. Jesus, man. You can't do anything around here. I fell asleep in like a rich neighborhood, I remember, and I just pulled over in some rich neighborhood on the way to work and woke up with the cops surrounding me, and I'm trying to explain I'm on I'm on meds. I'm on Prozac. Oh God. But yeah, so once I realized I was being over medicated, I limited it down. It's a whole other story about meds and depression, but not going to get into here. But just watch out. Don't let them over medicate you, because you don't need that much. If you do need help at all with depression, and I'm not a doctor, like I said, I'm a musician. don't take my advice, but this is my personal experience, and it's worth something. So they can really, after suffering for so long, when you first get on meds, you don't even care if you're over medicated. It's fucking awesome. And anyone has ever told about it that I saw suffering has taken them and gotten a lot out of them. I've been on and off of them for years, but just I'm all for them. All for therapy. Find somebody if you can afford it. There's therapy online now. There's so many different routes of therapy you can go to. And life coaches. I had a great life coach for a while, Lenora Edwards, and she's still out there on Facebook, still friends with her. And Timmy likes her too. Jesus Christ. Should I let him in? Should I just let him in? It's not going to matter anyway. They're probably going to be... All right, I'm letting him in. You're in the shoot. Come on. It's Timmy. Susie, you guys know him already if you watched any of my other videos. It's Timmy, Susie, and Bella. You've seen Susie. Timmy and Bella are very private. Timmy's mute, and he will not be in the video. So one more positive addiction, which sounds funny, but they are, and they can really waste a lot of your time. But one more is getting addicted to trying to become successful. Man, I got stuck on that for freaking years. I'm still stuck on it. I'm still working on certain things, and but it's such a huge part of our culture that you can't even escape it. I mean, we're all trying to do it. It's like eating, and breathing. It's just part of our life. We're all trying to better ourselves, better our lives, make more money, be successful in our careers, whatever we can do. So, but if, as long as it doesn't become a way of escaping, which it can very easily, because I spent years, thinking that would be the answer for me, instead of digging in and finding out, why I was really chasing for that answer. If you're just starting out trying to, wondering if there's any light at the end of the tunnel, there is. Obviously, if you didn't make the mistakes I did, you would grow a lot faster, a lot quicker. My main takeaway after 30 years is I see that it's the hero's journey. It's Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, that everyone has a hero's journey. And if you're addicted to anything in your life, whether it's mild, it could be anything. But if you're addicted to something, the beginning of your hero's journey is to kick that habit and just start to look inward and find out why you're addicted. And the moment you do that, you're just rewarded. For every uncomfortable moment of my life, by looking inward and trying to grow, and all the things we're trying to avoid with our emotions and trying to get around, but for every uncomfortable moment that I've gone through, there's always been some new level of belief in myself, or some new level of self-trust, or some new level of intuition that comes to me. I was always very intuitive with my music, and I was connected to that. I think that's where I've let my emotions through all these years, because I was hiding from my emotions for so long. But but I would say, everybody's got that hero's journey, and it's up to us. And basically, if you read Joseph Campbell, you'll realize that the hero's journey just comes down to the distance between your heart and your mind, moving from your ego to your soul. If you're following your ego, then you're not on the hero's journey. You're on our culture's journey. You can have a lot of fun doing that, and it's nothing against it. But if you really want to get to somewhere meaningful in your life, you gotta look inward and find out what's right for you specifically, and not just follow other people. Give me a comment down below. Let me know where you're at in your growth, and if you have any other questions for me, I'd love to share what I can. But like I always say, I'm just a musician. You shouldn't listen to me. But come back and listen to some of my depressing music and watch my depressing videos, and that'll really help. Subscribe if you would, so I know you're out there. And what else? Cats? And some will say that